What is our purpose as we're aging? Maybe you have retirement money set aside, but you haven't thought about life. What's it going to be like to be home with your partner? Now you're in the house together, or what am I going to do with all that time? You can only drink so much and play so much golf. Maybe you haven't had a chance in your life to look at that. And so, how can you make meaning as you see the end of the road? There's still many hours and good energy to be placed somewhere with meaning.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to another installment of RF Talks. I'm here today with Sandrina Weller and Susan Cook. Susan is a certified retirement coach and counselor, and Sandrina is a systemic integrative coach and breath work coach. And they work together at Coaching to Connection in Oregon, close to the west coast of Oregon State in the United States, the Pacific Northwest. They do local retreats in the Oregon area and also destination retreats, working with individuals, couples, and groups. So I'm just going to launch right in, and we can talk about your backgrounds and your history as we go along. But I wanted to first ask you, why are people coming to your practice and to seek help with you and counseling with you? First, welcome, and why are people coming to you?
Welcome. Why are they coming? Because they are stuck in different ways. They run against something in themselves or on the outside where they just can't get along. Would you say that?
Yeah, they feel that, first of all, we know in today's culture, in the digital world and this highly scheduled world, people are running ahead of themselves and there's a lot of stress, and that translates into their relationships, not only with themselves, but with their partners, their kids, their community, because of the stress and the insecurity they're feeling in life in general. So whatever that used to be when I started my practice many, many years ago, it's on steroids now. People are really disconnected and trying to connect to have a better quality of life.
And they're helpless in many ways.
So give me an example. Does somebody come to you and say, hey, I'm disconnected and I want to feel more connection with myself? Or do they come presenting a specific issue in life that says, hey, I'm stuck in my career, or my marriage isn't working? Or what are some of the symptoms they're presenting with?
I've actually heard people saying, I feel really disconnected in my life. I can't find myself. Particularly women, middle-aged women are saying, the kids have left. Now what? So in that way, they do, for sure.
Bit of an identity crisis, huh? Whenever they
There's
empty nesting.
What also happens is that they say, well, actually, everything's fine on the outside, I always say that the days are filled, but not the soul. So something's missing, and they can't grab it.
Yeah, that's part of it. And with the marriage thing and couples, the stress has gone into the bickering, or that we're not spending quality time together, or we're good, we're on vacation, but as soon as we're home, it's not good. We're not talking anymore.
Why is that? What do you think is kind of behind that?
Where
Is it just that people live boring lives, or what's going on there?
I think the demands on the outside and what the expectations they have on the inside, there's a big collision of realities. And I do not think we are taught or encouraged to take time for quality of much of anything anymore. Really. We don't know. We haven't been taught how to relate,
Yeah. Yeah, we often see really that it goes back to the basics, that people really, especially with the couples work, that they are really helpless with how do we communicate with each other? How do I really listen to my partner and not just throw in my part? That's basic conversation, but often that's already the where it starts. And people say it's all about communication. Most of us don't know what that truly means. How to understand the meaning of what another is saying, not the words, but the meaning. And we don't slow down enough. I mean, we're texting. Couples are texting each other from the other room. So, Yeah.
I don't know.
We had couples on Zoom calls where they describe this, and we say, you're in the same house together. They're
But it
not.
feels like you're a world apart. You could be
Yeah,
sitting
and
in
the
the same
awareness
place.
is not there. The awareness is not there, that's where often the problems already start. You're not listening. You're not really listening. And that's true. That's
That's not an exaggeration. That's really the state of many people today in their relationship. So, yeah, people may have a presenting issue, their marriage, their stress, they're exhausted, they don't know who they are anymore. I think all of those things are pretty typical. And then there's the I don't want to go to therapy. There's still a stigma about emotional health and mental health. So there's that. And then when people come to our retreats, many of them have done couples work or therapy. And then they tell us that what we're doing with them, they've never done before, which
I
is
don't get what the problem is with the stigma around therapy. Can we just call it, instead of therapy, can we call it like personal training instead? It's like going to the gym and like you're getting a personal trainer. What is the problem here? It's
yeah.
like, so you go to a personal trainer and they're like, okay, you need to like move your elbow 2 inches to the right and position yourself this way. And you need somebody externally that can see the patterns
Yeah.
pointed out.
It is about seeing patterns. That's all.
Yeah.
But
It is personal work, and I think the wording really makes a difference for people. We had that experience when we started working together. We called our work workshop, and nobody came. And we do the same thing now and call it retreat. It's totally different.
that's okay.
Retreats are cool now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and the other thing about
It's energy.
it's about coaching. I'm an old dog. Coaching now, you can say you have it's cool to have a life coach. That's great, but don't call it anything else. So it's life coaching. We're good.
God. Okay, so speaking of coaching, what is a certified retirement coach? What does that mean?
It's a relatively new label and event. It's kind of the latest hip thing you can do because of people like myself and the baby boomers. However, in all fairness, we're being trained to deal with the transition from, mid 60s onward and getting people to pay attention to because you're so darn healthy, you may live another 20 years plus. And
Yeah.
maybe you've got a 401k and maybe you have retirement money set aside, but you haven't thought about life. What's it going to be like to be home if you're partnered with your partner who maybe you've had separate careers and it's great to get together, but now you're in the house together. Or what am I going to do with all that time? You can only drink so much and play so much golf. And no, honestly, it's
Yeah.
a true story.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? So
We had people who went back to work after 5 years
They
of
couldn't
golfing
take
and
it.
traveling because they couldn't stand it anymore.
yeah. So
Yeah.
and what is our purpose as we're aging? Real purpose, heartfelt purpose. Maybe you haven't had a chance in your life to look at that. And so how can you make meaning as you see the end of the road? Yes, being in your family and taking care of grandkids, nothing wrong with that. But there's still many hours and good energy to be placed somewhere with meaning. And that's what we get people to explore. And that's what the retirement coaches are doing is say, take a deeper look in your 50s. So by the time you're in your 60s and going on, that you have something to really explore that fills you, not just filling in time, which, people do that. Oh, I'll do a craft. Okay. Nothing wrong with it. These are the final chapters, and we want
Maybe
people.
the best chapters in some occasions. I mean, I mentioned it a couple of minutes ago about having an identity crisis with the empty nesting. It's the same thing with the empty career. Is so much of our purpose and our personal identities are tied up with our careers in Western capitalist
Yes.
society. That who are we if we're not our career? Who are we if we're not our role as a parent or even as a spouse or as a partner? Like a lot of people don't take the time to stop and ask that question at any point in their life,
That's right.
let alone in these golden years. It used to be that I just saw a comment somewhere, a flyer or something, and they said like 55 is now seniors. I'm like, is that really the age for seniors? It doesn't seem like 55 would be seniors anymore. That's from like 20 years ago, where
Yes.
like you turn 55 and you get discounted movie tickets or whatever. And that doesn't seem like it applies anymore. Like 55, 65, like you were saying, these numbers are less relevant now because people are so much healthier and they're living so much longer.
That's right.
And they're much more vibrant into their 50s, 60s, and even 70s.
And that's a double edge.
And there are people who can't stop working. We had people in our retreats, they were already in their 70s and they were still full time in their jobs because they were
Out of a financial need or just out of
no, because they were afraid to stop. because they couldn't imagine what comes after that.
It's the vacuum and the ageism still in our culture, and it wouldn't it be wise to let people consult or work, maybe they want to work 10 hours or 15 hours a week, or change their relationship where they work as being more a mentor.
Yeah.
That would work, but we are slow. Social change is pretty slow. Instead of capitalizing on the silver resource we have to help the culture right now, which could sure use people who show up on time, who have a sense of responsibility, things like that.
Yeah, and all that knowledge
Yeah.
they added up over decades.
And we get warehoused unless we take.
So as a retirement coach, you're helping facilitate these conversations and helping people unwind who they think they are and how they defined themselves previously and figure out who they want to be today and going forward. Is that the crux of it?
Yes, and provoke them and instigate and help them find the gold that's deep in there that maybe hasn't been expressed. It's pretty amazing when they dare to speak the truth of some parts of themselves that they just kind of put away. We say, no, bring it out. Let's hear it.
So what's an example of a time that you provoked someone and something emerged out of that?
The one who wrote the book.
Oh yeah, we had one client who meanwhile wrote 3 books after a retreat, and she was not connected to that before she came, but she just found that passion in herself and started to write children books, and she's quite on it now with that.
Well, so her husband's semi-retired. She was semi-retired. She did a part-time job, decided to learn to drive a bus.
A school bus.
A school bus
children.
for kids.
Nice.
So then and the kids were bullying each other and stuff. And then she decided to take charge and, of course, make the biggest bully the monitor on the bus and became the superstar in the school district. And then she was wanting to do coaching online for women and some other things. And then we went back to this successful story she had and her passion for redirecting kids and seeing that kids were not being redirected in a certain way. And she decided to write a story about one of these little boys.
And it's actually part of her own childhood story. It's a boy, but it's actually her story. And it's great.
But so she repurposed herself in a way that she didn't know was there with something that was a part-time job, and now she can't stop herself.
Do you have copies of the books? Do you have copies of?
Yeah.
Do you feel satisfaction that your
that's
client
great.
has life transition?
Oh no.
Yeah, you feel kind of famous.
Did you get her autograph? Get her to autograph the book?
It's the next J.K. Rowling. Who knows?
Well, the satisfaction is seeing people become more of who they are. That's why we show up. And that's, that's the instigation part is like, and we listen to people's life stories and you see it repeated time and time again, where that passion started, where it got shut down, and how can they reach back to that part and say, yeah, I want to reclaim that because it's who I am. Who did we just see the other day? Yesterday. Last night.
The dancer.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is someone who feels a lot of loneliness, and she realized it's not about relationship. That she's too much for everybody, she said. And I said, wow, what about community theater? What about something? She showed us a picture of herself at 5 years old, dressed up to the nines, and her whole face changed. And she went, oh yeah, I need to go be seen
on stage.
I mean, it was amazing.
It's just finding these.
Maybe you're not too much for everyone. Maybe you're too much for the stage you're on right now, and you need to go find a bigger stage.
Bingo.
Exactly.
Were you listening last night? That's exactly what the comment.
But, yeah, you can't see that for yourself. Sometimes you need somebody from the outside who sees that.
Holds the mirror.
That's what we do.
So it sounds like there's a nice combination. You're not as much therapizing in terms of fixing what's broken, but maybe realigning to what's the true nature of the individual and what's actually existing there and finding out the right dynamic that fits who they are.
That's right.
It's like putting together a puzzle. And we all do that together. Whether it's 3 of us with one client or with a couple, we sometimes stare on this carpet together, because we work on the ground a lot with ground anchors or with cards, whatever. And it's just like looking at the picture and putting the pieces together. And then if you have different people looking at that, ideas come up, or memories, and people say, I never thought about that since 20 years or longer. And then they put the pieces together. And I think that's what we thrive on.
So there's a lot of we talk. You guys work in session together.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Why? How did that come about? It's not very common to have
No.
facilitators, therapists work in tandem and duos. So tell me how the duo came about.
I think that,
I was trained that way, actually.
Really?
Yeah, with my supervisor. So
yeah,
that's
just
where I
to
got the
start.
permission for that. When I was in training, my supervisor and I did a 24-hour marathon with 4 couples all night long. And so another therapist I worked with, she was in her PhD program, I was in my master's program. We did the first women's groups in Phoenix, Arizona, called Time Out for Women. And that dynamic of one person going forward and the other witnessing and back and forth, you get so much more. And I think it's a powerful tool. And
Well, and it's also different tools we have, and this is where we come together. I actually come from the horse work. I'm a connected riding trainer, which is a method who works holistically with riders and horses. And Susan was part of the owner of the business, and that's where we met in Germany, actually, many years ago. And through that, I saw her working with some friends of mine in Germany, and I just saw the magic in her method, how she works.
you didn't say madness in
No,
my.
I sometimes say
It's a fine line. It's a fine line between magic and madness. Yeah.
sometimes, yeah. She's like a cruise missile. She finds the little thread and then she's following that. And I saw that and I thought, this is magical. It's a great work. And there was something missing in my horse work. And she helped me with supervising me, and that's how I got into the coaching work. And I found a great school in Germany who does holistic work, and that's where my education comes in from. And then I went to that school and started my education, and I was so excited about telling her about all these famous people I learned about, Alice and whoever they are, and she met them in person in the 70s.
Oh wow.
So
Well, the 70s. That's back when they called it human potential movement. That was
Yeah,
back in those days.
humanistic psychology. And the
Yeah.
school I was in, we were doing encounter groups with each other, so that we were kind of out there in the 70s. So yeah, a lot of permission to engage with people. And then the fellow that runs Sandy's program is also out there in a good way and very creative with the
So
coaching.
yeah, so what they do is, it's just Susan said it's what they do here in psychotherapy. I'm not clear with that, but it's a lot about active tools, and it's psychodrama, it's hypnotherapy, and
Is
it's
this the
all
integrative systemic
right.
processes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's very fascinating, and we just found out by working with friends and starting to do things together that we are really good fit in that. It works. It's the combination of her experience and the new tools I bring in, and it's just different than just talking.
So you do all your sessions together as a pair?
Most of them.
Yeah, I do individual work too, in person and some online.
Okay.
But the
Yeah.
retreats we do
All the
together.
retreats we do together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we get really good feedback. People really enjoy that, and
And
they feel safe. They don't feel ganged up on. I mean, we tell them, here it comes. We are going to hang up on you, but feel free to push back. We have a lot of fun.
yeah, an interesting thing for me is that what was complicated for me at the beginning with the foreign language, that sometimes I don't understand people really well, so I have to ask a second question or sometimes a third question in order to get the meaning.
Mhm.
Is actually really helpful. It slows people. I really feel that it's kind of a tool. I'm not using that on purpose, but it always is helpful to slow people down and ask themselves the same question. I said that, so what does that mean for myself?
So much of our communication is what I would call indirect communication or by innuendo. People might say a phrase or a sentence and it's got all this underlying meaning, and they may think they're conveying their true meaning, but really it's just kind of surface words up
Right.
here. So by having them kind of asking the question to go deeper, they have to actually feel what they're feeling and get in touch with what they intended to say,
Yeah.
and then
So
communicate that in a different way. And then
Absolutely.
that's kind of enlightening process in itself.
Yeah, I call
yeah.
that the throwaway line, and we kid about that. day two of retreat will say, no, that's a throwaway line. Come on, what else?
What do you mean by that?
The innuendo, the superficial lines they use that covers it. I don't know, and it gets really fun. We
Yeah.
have things I call game show. Now we're going to go do game show, and making some of the heavy stuff, because there is heavy stuff underneath there that needs to be understood and witnessed too. That's a therapy part. So they can make sense of what happened to them, because there's a lot of what happened to them that creates the patterning either within the couple or in the individual, and they can't get past it. And they just
repeat.
Yes.
Okay, what's your take on the line between the usefulness around exploring what happened to somebody and then getting stuck in the narrative and getting stuck in that pattern, not being able to move forward and getting into this navel gazing process? What's your take on how much is a right amount of exploration and rehashing the past?
Give an answer for that.
I don't know why you're laughing. Just say it.
One person brought in notebooks.
Oh, yeah.
Like analysis
Of her stories.
But a lot. A whole bag.
In my whole career.
She was really well prepared for this retreat. Now I know why you're laughing. And we said, okay, we'll look at this later. And she never touched it.
No, I said to her, I'm never going to read that, because that's the past and we're here now. And we're going to get to that, but we get to it the first day. That's what we do. And that's
But there is value in dipping your toe into the past and bringing awareness to the process, right?
Absolutely.
Just like little bookmarks, because then the recapitulation, we can just move on forward, and this is where it was last year, this is where it was 10 years ago, and that's where it started. So whatever happened then that didn't get its due is right here sitting with you today. So why don't we just give it its due today in your current pattern? Because when you do that systemically, it reorganizes. But yes,
by itself,
navel gazing and going back, and same time next week therapy. I've been in it, I've done it, and you're there a month from now, in 5 years from now, spinning it.
Or in a partner dynamic, pathologizing your partner.
Oh my
absolutely.
Lord.
Right? How much use is there in that?
Yeah, and people don't know how to get out of it. It's like in a hamster wheel.
So these days, there's the new hot thing. It's not so new, but the hottest videos on the internet is all about how to identify whether your partner is a narcissist or not. And they've got these armchair terms, right? And everybody's a psychologist now, diagnosing their partner's pathological psychosis.
You want to see me light up? That's when the whistle and the flag goes up in session. When they start there, they nope. No. We're not doing that. Labels. We've had people label themselves. I'll say,
list of labels.
I'm sorry. Yes, I had the DSM-5, whatever, too. I'm not interested in that. How are you functioning or not functioning? It's like, come on. That's another text. Oh yeah, everybody's a narcissist today, I'm sure.
I'm not. I'm the most enlightened person you'll ever meet.
Thank you. Then we have that.
That's why I like it. Enlightened person you'll ever meet.
That's why we like it. The balance is important.
Yeah.
Lord.
Okay, let's talk about your retreats. You do two. At the beginning, I talked about how you have a physical location in Oregon where people come to you. Tell us about that. Tell us about your location and how people come to you for personalized retreats, one-on-ones.
So McMinnville is wine country here in Oregon. So it's a really nice historic little city with lots of shops and wine places, and it's in nature, so it's a good place to have both. And we have our little office on Main Street in 3rd Street in McMinnville. It's quiet.
If people don't have the map, it's just southwest of Portland.
Hour from the airport.
Direction of the ocean.
Yeah, that's right. The ocean is an hour from us. And some people do little trips to the ocean, or they add another day or two. We had many actually who do that. After or before the retreat, they come from the coast or they go to the coast. It's really beautiful, and it's a nice combination. And then, we have our office, which is very private, where we go into the bubble with people, and they can either book with us having accommodation which is called the Little Retreat Hotel. They have little tiny houses, which is pretty close to our office. works
It's called
very,
the Retreat Hotel.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
cute.
What's it called?
boutique retreat
Retreat.
hotel.
Boutique.
And we have, that's kind of, we work together with them.
So they can walk to the office from there.
Yeah,
And then there's lovely restaurants. We have a lot because it's, it's a destination place.
foodies.
So good place for foodies. That's important. And so people want definitely take a break during the day, but it's pretty much a 9 to 5, dig deeply with an
Mm.
hour and a half to 2 hour break in the day. Sometimes they'll book a massage. So we have a couple of good massage people in town.
So
Just to,
this is direct, intensive work with you.
oh
Yeah,
yeah,
It's pretty good. Multi-day. People can select how many days they work with you, or is there a standard?
it's 3 days
it's 3 days.
usually. They, some people stay for 6 days. It depends on what they think their need is.
And they can also customize if they, but we really, it's optimal to have 3 days, I would say a
Yeah, that's the
minimum of three
minimum
days. Yeah.
because it's a certain process we go through, and less than that, I wouldn't do it.
What is your intention when you set out on this journey? These are journeys that you take with people, and you don't really know. I guess you have some framework and structure after all these years, but there's always the storm that comes, and you never know what's going to arise in the midst of that journey. But what's your destination where you want to arrive at the end of these intensives?
Sustainable change, that people take something home which where they can start working with, because the work actually starts after the retreat. And we make that very clear to people. They leave with a plan. So the third day, we usually, half of the day or so, we spend with making a very tangible plan for them, which
Like
is
life changes, life decisions. I'm going to go.
absolutely really going into the nitty gritty of how does that look when you come home.
Literally. So there's honeydews when they go home, and they name it. Depending on their background. If they're an engineer, they call it one thing. If you're a school teacher, call it another. And it's really tangible things to do immediately when they go home. They'd say kind of over a 3 month period. So it's very close in. And then we do a Zoom call afterwards, a follow up. And many people sign up for a coaching package so that we keep on the accountability part because they want that.
And sliding out on the line. So it's like then the time, the distance between the calls get less and less over time. And
Mhm.
then they just walk on their own again.
Like a person we saw again last night. We saw her.
A few times.
How long ago did we first
A
see her, though?
month.
No, we saw her 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, and she's still doing occasional check-ins,
Nice.
and she's changed.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Well, what I guess one of the magic keys in this problem, what I'm just kind of intuiting here from talking to you both, is that this isn't just another plan and another to-do list to add on top of your other to-do list. The difference here is that this plan is actually aligned with who you really are.
That's right.
It's the goals or the elements of the plan are consistent with who you really are. So every time you take an action towards that plan, you're actually sort of reinforcing who you are in the world. And it's like one more investment in yourself to bring yourself forward into the world. So there's this sort of, and I guess when you take that action, not all actions have perfect 100% outcomes, but you start seeing the results and you start seeing your life reorient in the direction, and to it reorients in accordance with who you are. So that becomes reinforcing, and you see those things and you're like, oh, this feels great. I'm on this one individual was probably acting now on a stage, had that experience, felt great about it, and then is like, oh, now I'm going to go pursue the other things on that. So it becomes almost like it's not just another task list. It becomes like this treasure hunt where you're at the end.
That's right. It hooks into the core.
It's it's what
we call transformation.
It really is.
They have a shift, and we support that shift. And yes, people, just like in the horse business, people fall off their horses. How they get back on and how they ride and what they tell themselves about why they fell off the horse changes. The horse isn't a bad actor. It's nobody's fault. They know how to sit on the horse to support themselves on the horse very differently than hitting the horse, beating up on themselves, and getting up and doing it again.
And the same is true for themselves here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that
sometimes it's not a horse they need. Sometimes they need a donkey, and that's the right vehicle.
Or it's better than being the ass. What can I say?
That's That's right.
But
Yeah, and they run into their patterns and do the same mistake again, but they start, the awareness is different. They start noticing, oops, I did it again.
oh yeah.
No, and so what?
And it's important in that the plan in our cautionary moment and letter we follow up is you will fall into the pattern. In fact, you must fall into the pattern to make a conscious choice to be kind to yourself and say, oh, as you said, oops, there it is again. Because if you don't do that and you set these expectations, yeah, I'm going to go to the gym that one, first of the year, I'm going to you're asking for it. And so, no, you have to find that pattern and embrace it and go, but I have a choice. Because most of us don't realize what our choices are when we're in the pattern. We don't know we're there. And then if we're in it, we don't know what to do about it.
Mm.
But they're going to figure out, as you said, they come away with an understanding of this is what I would prefer to do. And it's easy.
Yeah. It's easy because it's aligned.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's a distinction I make that it takes effort, but there isn't the struggle. There isn't the internal resistance that you feel when you're trying to accomplish a project that's not aligned with who you are. So that
That's
internal resistance isn't there, and it actually sparks more energy when you're pursuing goals and pathways that are aligned with who you are. And
That's
I
right.
can see, there's a time and a place to have a very rigid modality where you can go really deep with a particular modality. But from this conversation, I can see how effective it is to work with both of you, and you bring in a variety of skills and tools to play during these intensives with people. Because sometimes more of a therapeutic approach is necessary. Sometimes more of a coaching approach is necessary.
Yeah.
Sometimes kicking the butt is necessary, right? And so you guys can kind of show up with whatever the participant, I guess, patient, guest, person is needing at that time.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
have a
We
good friend of mine who's a therapist, and he said some statistic, I don't remember the statistic, but a large percentage of the effectiveness of the therapist patient relationship is in that relationship dynamic.
Absolutely.
we
And
believe
what
that.
can come out of that relationship dynamic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Is
and
really
with the couples, we have. I say we're jumping into this mess with you, and certain people want to stay out of it. We're in it with
Mm.
them. If we can't feel them and feel that dilemma, and feel their feelings in a certain way, we can't be of any help. And I
Yeah.
think why people enjoy working with us is they know we care and we know we get it. And some of
And
us
we
are.
are not afraid of
Yeah.
emotions.
Sometimes you want to reorganize your closet. Sometimes you got to make a mess and get the clothes out on the bed.
That's right.
Oh,
Throw them on the
yeah,
floor.
exactly.
This is the metaphor day. I don't know where I'm coming up with all these
I
metaphors.
love
It's good. Yeah.
So couples, before the call, we were chatting. You said that there's been a surge in interest with couples working with you. So you do work with individuals that have life transitions, particularly around retirement or empty nesting, and the anxiety that comes as a result of that, but also couples that are struggling in their relationship or maybe disconnected in the relationship. So besides the retreats in Oregon, you also have destination retreats. Tell me about those where I think we have a couple listed on Retreat Finder. So just tell me about the inspiration and the concept behind the
Yeah.
destination retreats.
Well, that's where we do the group work, because what we do in McMinnville is mostly the couple and the one-on-one work.
Yeah.
And we both like also, that's a little bit self-serving because we really like to work with groups. And so we have regularly something on the Oregon coast, and where we rent a big house on the ocean or at a lake and do group retreats with women. That's just for women.
Yeah.
And now we are planning something in Boise, and we had one in Mallorca, which we had to cancel because people resist to
travel at the moment.
travel at the moment, and I understand that. And so we'll
Hopefully,
see.
we can get that when things cool off a little bit. We can go to Europe and do some, but right now people are a little hesitant to travel. But yeah, the group
It's
is
People are
the word. Yes.
economy and everything else.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But the group work, you are constantly doing group retreats, and like you said, the local ones as well. Is it the same idea behind the group retreats, or do you have a particular theme or
I would
concept?
say it's the same idea. Uh, it's you probably know this. I mean, working with the group, the group becomes one entity somehow, and we never know. You always think, oh, who's showing up, and the people are so different. But when you start doing some exercises with them, they open up, and it becomes one organism. And so one person's story is everybody's story. And somehow that has an amazing effect and an empowering effect for people to start looking at their own viewpoint as well as their own, what do I want to do next for myself? So I think the same tools apply. It's just kind of a different dynamic because you're working with this larger organism.
Yeah.
It's still very individual. We do very small groups. So 8 is the max. So normally it's 6 people, which is very intimate, and it's still very individual. Everybody is able to tell their story as much as they want to tell it and work on whatever they bring. So we don't have a theme on this retreats. It's all about them. You bring your story, we put it in the middle together, and as Susan says, we noodle on it. You know,
Everybody left with a plan when we did the
everybody
work. Yeah.
leaves with a plan.
And it's so interesting to watch, how people are cheerleaders for one another or have a creative idea or become in some ways, a coach assistant because they get it and they lend something.
Yeah, it's also very creative because they jump into each other's issues and support each other, and sometimes really fantastic things happen.
Yeah.
I've heard of people feeling nervous about doing group work because of they're very private, or they may be nervous about what when you start drudging up emotions or stories, you're nervous about sharing that publicly. Like you said, these are very small groups. The real power in the groups, I find, is that number one, you get to sometimes be observer, and sometimes you're in the hot seat, and so there's not constant pressure on you, and
Right.
you get to observe other people going through their process, and watching other people go through their process is actually a huge learning experience as well. And it provides not only a permission structure to open up and reveal yourself and go into vulnerable spaces, but also you see that other people are struggling with similar issues. You see
Right.
that other people are struggling with different issues and how they get to deal with it. And I find that groups can be a great container for going deep really fast because of that.
That's right.
Absolutely.
And often it's interestingly the people who are the most pulled away at the beginning who at some point after a day or 1.5 days open up, and you think, oh my God, there's so much in there. And if they feel safe enough to share, it's amazing.
And,
Great.
and the other people in the group understand that
Yeah.
they're so protective and so sweet and,
With
and,
each other.
and
Yeah.
loving in that way. And it's interesting now with group work. Yes, I think people are much more pulled back, call it post COVID or whatever. And so that's a harder sell right now because people are so disconnected and so pulled back. And yet it's such an opportunity to jump into one's humanity and, being engaged.
Yeah. And
With
connect to
others.
each other, because I think we all long for that. We all long for connection, real connection. It's like I see you, you see me, and we feel each other.
Yeah.
No.
And it's different when you're in person. I'm of the mind that, yeah, we're all living in digital worlds. We're conducting Retreat Finder in a very digital way. It's great, but people are hungry and starving for in person, real connection. Our species is built to be in community. And
Right.
so we're hardwired to respond to being in real connection with each other. We don't realize it. We think that going on social media or going to check the news for the 28th time today, and watching movies or
Mhm.
whatever the thing is are facsimiles. They're like really a copy of a copy of a copy of human connection, and it's like a cheap thrill when the real thing is right there waiting for you.
Right.
And if you're not accustomed to doing group work, that those of us that have done a lot of group work and have learned to trust the process and learn to open up in that environment, we know that we're hungry for it, and we're like, oh, it's time to like go get my fill. But for people that are new to group work, especially in these sorts of vulnerable therapeutic states, I encourage you to try it because it's a quenching of a thirst that you don't even know that you have
That's right.
Well
until
put.
you experience it.
That's mm,
Okay, so Susan, Sandy, thank you so much for taking the time to introduce yourselves to our audience. This video is going to be posted wherever your listings are on Retreat Finder, on YouTube. And so anybody that's watching this, if you're really enjoying Susie and Sandy's vibe and you want to work with them, please follow the link wherever it is down below. Look around for the link and submit an inquiry to make a connection. Like I was saying before, so much of this, part of what we're doing in Retreat Finder is really stepping away from this online directory, which is converting the transactional into more of a relational. And so this is a great opportunity to hear from you and to feel your energy, to know whether or not, as an audience member, if we want to have a connection. So I would encourage you to fill in the inquiry form, to make that connection, have the conversation. Don't have to make any commitments, but have the conversation and see if this is the right fit for you to help you move to the next stage of your life, whether that is kind of later in life and you're transitioning out of career and wanting to figure out what you want to do, whether you're struggling with a relationship and a marital situation, or whether it's just time to go on a destination retreat to the Oregon coast and go to this cute little quaint town
That's
and
right.
spend some time with an intensive on yourself. So, Sandy, Susan, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
We
Thank you.
say thank you.
Thank
That
you
was
for
really
what you're
fun.
doing too, the
Yeah.
relational part and bringing people together. Thank you.
We're glad we found you.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pleasure.